And it is my privilege and honor to introduce our last keynote of the session of our summit. Tim Storey is an acclaimed author, speaker, and life coach, helping people create the future they deserve. He has inspired people from all walks of life, from entertainment legends to professional athletes, from executives to deprived children throughout the world, using seasonal foundational principles and humor to get honest with people so that they can overcome the obstacles that are holding them back. Tim has traveled to over 75 countries and has spoken to millions of people. He's often met privately to counsel high-profile leaders in various industries. Tim has partnered with phenomenal organizations to spread love and hope, spending time with the Fred Jordan Mission in Los Angeles on Skid Row, Music Unite Day in Los Angeles Compton Schools, and the Kids Haven Orphanage in Johannesburg, South Africa. Along with a rigorous speaking calendar and private life of coaching, he has held regular, motivating, intimate sessions across the world called The Study. He has hosted exclusive Saturday morning series on Sirius XM radio. Recently, Tim has been interviewed for a full-hour segment of Oprah Winfrey's own Super Soul Sunday. The Expos airs on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2015. And one of the things, like I mentioned before, he's also begun a church in Yorba Linda called The Congregation, which meets weekly and provides spiritual insight and direction for people of diverse age, background, and needs. And again, Tim has authored multiple books, Come Back and Beyond, Utmost Living, Creating and Savoring the Best Life Now, being top Amazon bestsellers, and his newest book, The Miracle Mentality. Here you go, our last keynote speaker of today, Tim Storey. Tim, it's all yours.
What a privilege. And last is good sometimes. So what a privilege to talk to you today, you bunch of world shakers and history makers. Want to thank Glenn Sanford and the team for the opportunity to share with you. There was a man by the name of Walt Disney, and he walked into an amusement park in the 30s. And he said, someday I'm going to build my own amusement park, but mine is going to be different, better, and more magical. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. He said, I'm going to build my own, but mine's going to be different, better, and more magical. July 17th, 1955, Disneyland was opened for the very first time. And just as Walt Disney thought, it was different, better, and more magical than anything that he had ever seen. The word magical is an interesting word. It means extraordinary. It means uncommon. It means not regular. When I was a little kid, I was raised in Compton, California. We had 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. That was cramped and that was crowded. But not only did we have 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, but we had 7 people that used to drive around in a Volkswagen Bug. And that's called illegal. 7 people in a Volkswagen Bug. My mother, she worked at a place called Winchell's Donut Shop and had a 6th grade education. My father worked at a place called Bethlehem Steel. And so we were living what I call a almost life. There are 3 levels of living that I want you to write down. Number 1, almost. Secondly, most. And thirdly, utmost. According to my notes here, it says almost means not quite, nearly, kind of. Many times we get stuck in these almost places where things almost work, whether it be the job or your goals or a relationship. And you can get so used to the almost that you start to live in what I call the land of okay. How's your life going? It's okay. How are your kids? Okay. How's your job going? It's okay. But I do not believe that we're supposed to live in the land of okay. I think, like Walt Disney, that our lives should be different, better, and more magical. So that even though when we were in Compton, California, and we were stuck in the land of okay, I knew there was more to life than what I was seeing. So that's my question to you. Do you believe that there is more to life than what you are seeing? Is there more to life than what you are doing? Is there more to life than what you have been expecting? Is there more to life than what you have been manifesting? I think so. So you have almost, but then you have most. I like John Maxwell. I consider him a friend. And he has this thing called the law of the lid. You can only go as high as the lid that's there. And true. So the question is, how high was the ceiling when you were a child? In your home, were they thinking different, better, more magical? In my house, they were not. We never talked about Yale. We never talked about Stanford. We never talked about doing great things. We were more in survival mode. So you have almost, you have most. Most means the ceiling. But how high is your ceiling? I think for most people, the ceiling was too low to start. But where is your ceiling now? But then you have the utmost. And that is that world of beyond. That is that place of the magical. In my new book, I talk about this, the miracle mentality, that I believe that the miracle mentality is innate. It is also something that you can learn. It's also something that you can grow, but it is innate. And as you guys heard, I've been to 75 countries of the world. Coming up in the next few months, I'll do country 76 and country 77. But some of these countries I've been to over 50 times. But I was in South Africa, which I've been to 26 times. And I was speaking in an orphanage, and there was a lot of young kids there. And I said, what do you guys want to do when you get older? And they were age 6, 7, 8, 9. And one kid said, I'm going to be a soccer player. And another kid said, I'm going to be an NFL player. Another kid said, a little girl, I'm going to be a ballerina. A little boy said, I'm going to be the president. Not one of them said, I am going to be bankrupt several times, or I'm going to have failed relationships. No, because when you're little, you're thinking different, better, more magical. Different, better, more magical. You're thinking beyond. You are creating beyond. You're in that space that thing possible. Some of you know this, some of you do not. But I life coach entertainers quite a bit. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So I was having lunch with Brad Pitt's mother one day, and I said, what did Brad want to do when he was little? And she said, well, he wanted to be an actor, and he also wanted to be an architect, but he also wanted to be a humanitarian. It's amazing that everything that Brad Pitt wanted to be, he actually ended up doing. So I've been working with Robert Downey Jr., who became Iron Man since 1999, and we do some nonprofit work together even now, but we're great friends. But I was talking to his mother on the set of a movie. What did Robert want to become? And she said, oh, he wanted to be a director like his dad, and he wanted to be an actor, he wanted to be a humanitarian. And so everything that Robert wanted to do, he has done. I was talking to Katy Perry's parents, the singer. She's also on American Idol. What did Carrie? What did she want to be? Katie. She wanted to be a singer. She wanted to be a humanitarian. She wanted to be a leader. So everything she wanted to be, she became. Why? Because it's innate as children that we think different, better, more magical. Now, as I've been able to work with so many amazing people, I have found that there are certain characteristics of people like yourself who decide to live this utmost life, this different, this better, more magical. So let's give 5 characteristics or traits of those who live this kind of life. Number 1, they think uncommon thoughts. I want you to write this down. They think uncommon thoughts. The word uncommon means not normal, not the standard, and not regular. So the question I have for you is, do you think uncommon thoughts? When you were a kid, did you think uncommon thoughts? As an adult, do you think uncommon thoughts? People who do well in life, they think uncommon thoughts. Secondly, they make uncommon plans. They make uncommon plans. I was sitting in Oprah Winfrey's backyard just talking as friends, and she said to me, at what point did you know you were going to be Tim Storey, which I think is kind of a cool thing? And I said, when I was 10 years of age. And I said, at what point did you know you were going to be Oprah Winfrey? And she gave me her age of when she knew it. But I think that people like yourself who are called to different, better, more magical, even when you were little, there was a knowing that you were supposed to make uncommon plans. So first you have uncommon thoughts, then you make uncommon plans. Characteristic number 3 for those who do amazing things and who think different, better, more magical is you have to take uncommon risks. Wow. Take uncommon risks. And so I'm not asking you to all of a sudden just get to a point in your life where you just jump and just start taking chances that you're not ready for. I honestly believe that before you take uncommon risks, that there are steps that you take. And here are my steps about the uncommon risks. Number 1, I believe you have to sit and learn. You have to sit and learn. And number 2, you got to stand in what you've learned. Number 3, you start to walk out what you've learned. Number 4, you begin to run, which is a position of passion. So you sit, you stand, you walk, and then you run. So anybody that I meet and get to be around that has done amazing things like you're doing, they first had to sit and learn, whether you're in real estate or whether you're in the restaurant business or whether you are Tom Brady as a quarterback. You got to sit, you got to learn, then you got to stand in what you've learned, then you got to walk out the principles, you got to walk it out, you got to walk it out every day, you got to walk it out, and then you run. But you run with passion. But have you noticed that so many people that went from sitting to standing to walking, a lot of people have lost their passion, they've lost their run. But there's one more step. You go from sitting to standing to walking to running to watch how beautiful this is. You begin to soar. Begin to soar. Some of you, your life is about to be so good within the next 12 months, it's going to be borderline weird. How many would love that kind of life where your life got so good that it got weird? So you learn to sit, you stand, you walk, you run, and then you soar. And it's in that place of soaring that you begin to take these uncommon risks. And I love all these things you guys are saying in the chat. I think of my friend Steve Harvey, who has given me so many breaks in life. Steve Harvey came to me many years ago and says, Tim, tell me what you want and I will make it happen. That says a lot. We did a tour together. We toured the United States. He let me be on his TV show over and over. I did a Facebook Live for him every Monday for a very long time, and we're doing other projects together. But Steve Harvey was talking about this idea of sitting, standing, walking, running, and then soaring and taking risks, that he's come to a point in his life where he's built so much faith in what can happen, because first that he sat, and then he stood, and then he walked it out, and then he ran, and then he soared, and he said, I learned that if I soared in this area, I could soar in another area. So people like you who do great things, we have uncommon thoughts. We make uncommon plans, and you take uncommon risks. I'm telling you again, your life is about to get so good, it's going to get weird. Come on, people. How exciting is this? I remember one time I was speaking in South Africa, and they said, hey, guess what? Nelson Mandela is coming to see you. Come on. I'm a fan of the late, great Nelson Mandela. And I remember when they brought in his entourage, and his whole entourage came in, and they brought him into the first row, and there was the great Nelson Mandela coming to see the young Tim Storey speak. You know, that is something that I did not see coming when I was in Compton, California, 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. I did not see that coming. I'm trying to tell you, your life is about to get magical, extraordinary, uncommon, not regular. Tim Storey, how is it going to happen? I'm going to teach you. And that's why I've written this book as well, The Miracle Mentality. You can get a mentality, and that mentality becomes your reality. The mentality becomes your reality. I love what you guys are writing in the chats. Thank you for that. So you have uncommon thoughts. You have to have uncommon plans. Take uncommon risks. But people who do amazing things like you have to have uncommon discipline. Here we go. I love this subject. When I was a child, my mother said to us, Timmy, we might be lower income, but we're not lower class. Big difference. We may have had a small apartment that later moved to a small house, but our dishes were always clean. Our house was always clean at an utmost level. And my mother taught us, do not do a half job. You get the point? So everything that we did, she would check and check and check and check again to make sure we didn't do a halfway job. So if you ever meet me for breakfast, you're going to see that I'm going to show up early. If you ever meet me for lunch, I'll show up early. For dinner, I'll show up early. If I'm speaking at a convention, they always go, Tim, you weren't supposed to be here till this time. Why are you early? Because I'm early. I don't want to do a halfway job, because I want to have uncommon discipline. Uncommon discipline. So when I was 15 years of age, I went into a restaurant with my sister, and I noticed that the tables were not bussed very well, that the busboys were not doing their job, and I just noticed. And so we went into the same restaurant again about a month later, and I noticed that the tables were not bussed. And I told my sister, who had been a waitress at one time, I said, I sure would like to get a job here. I want to bus those tables. So I found out who the owner was, and it was a man by the name of Mr. Anderson. And I came up to Mr. Anderson. I said, hello, sir. My name is Timmy Storey. Hi, Timmy. I said, I'm an athlete here in this town, and I go to school. And I said, sir, I would really like a job. And I heard that, you are the one who runs the restaurant. Well, I thought he was just the manager. No, he was the owner. And so he says, well, Timmy, how old are you? I said, I'm 15 and a half. And he says, well, you can't really get hired till you're 16. I said, well, I'm telling you, I said, the last 2 times I've come here, for some reason, the tables are unbussed. I said, like those. And he looked and he goes, I like the way you think. Who are you with? I said, with my sister. He said, can you and your sister come over to my office? So me and my sister went there, and he goes, Timmy, when are you going to be 16? And I told him just in a few months. He said, how bad do you want to be a busboy? I said, really bad. I said, because I want to buy a Volkswagen. My brother wants to sell me his Volkswagen. He was older than me. And I said, and I want his Volkswagen. And he says, well, Timmy, but because you're not 16 yet, I'll hire you as a dishwasher. But then when you turn 16, if you're good enough as a dishwasher, I'll put you as a busboy. So I went in there with what my mother had taught me: do not do a halfway job, with uncommon discipline. And man, I did those dishes like nobody's business. But I remember that the cook used to tease me. And the cook, who was only about 8 steps away, would say to me, hey, Timmy, slow down on those dishes. Why are you washing those dishes like you own the place? The reason I did those dishes that way, guys, is because I did not want to live a regular life. I didn't want to live an almost life. I didn't want to live in the land of okay. I didn't want to raise my family in a small place, cramped, crowded, and confined and constricted. I wanted to live the life that I was about to live. Could you imagine that I came from a house with 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment and later moved to Beverly Hills to a place that had 7 bathrooms, an elevator, and across the street from one of the biggest movie stars in the world? Now, come on, people. So this uncommon thinking has done something in my life. So this uncommon discipline was there, and I was doing the dishes like I owned the place. And Mickey, the guy that was the cook, he teased me time after time after time. Slow down, please. You don't own this place. You're not the owner. He doesn't care, but I cared. See? Discipline is not always to be shown in the light. Discipline is to be shown in the dark. I have a good friend by the name of Lee Iacocca, and Iacocca mentored me for over 27 years. My last 2 books he endorsed. The Lee Iacocca. He said, one of the greatest traits you have, Tim Storey, is number 1, you're a great listener. Secondly, he said, I love your discipline. He said, every time I tell you to be somewhere at a certain time, you're there early. So me washing those dishes would someday get the attention of a Lee Iacocca. Talking about uncommon discipline. When I was 16, they gave me the graduation they promised. I went from the dishwasher to the busboy. And man, I was a busboy. I was flying from table to table, boom, bam, 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 making things happen like I owned the place. Uncommon discipline. Uncommon discipline will take you to uncommon places. See, a lot of people have the desire and they don't have the discipline. But aren't you glad that you have uncommon discipline? So in the area of uncommon discipline, I want you to write this down. It's called the law of the harvest. I've been teaching it around the world the last 10 years. The law of the harvest in the area of discipline is this. Number 1, you plow the ground. In order to get the right harvest, you got to plow. You got to plow. You got to plow. There's a song. It's a hip hop song. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. You got to plow the ground, and then you got to plant the seed, but you got to plant the right seed. You got to plow, and then you got to plant. plow, plant, you water. Every single day, I'm hustling. Every single day, I fill my mind with the right thing for a miracle mentality. Every single day, I plow. Every single day, I plant. Every single day, I water. And it's not by accident that the harvest comes. That as you plow, you plant, you water, as you have this uncommon discipline, and you plow and you plant and you water, even in the midst of COVID, if you plow and you plant and you water, even in the midst of it not working for other people, when you plow and you plant and you water, I'm telling you right now, payday is on its way. If you believe that in the chat, just say yes, 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 yes. Is there anybody that believes that payday is on its way? Yes, yes, yes. Payday is on its way. It may not happen when you want it, but it's always right on time. I know you guys had Grant Cardone on here, who's a great friend of mine. And there's a reason that out of the last 10X that I've spoken in all but one of the conferences. Why? Because payday is on its way. There's a reason that a Steve Harvey says to a Tim Storey, what do you want? There's a reason that an Oprah Winfrey says, I feel led to open up doors for you. What do you want? Why? There's something about uncommon discipline to plow, to plant, to water, that someday you will get the harvest, that you will get the harvest. If you believe that your harvest is coming, I want you to say yes, 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 if you believe that the harvest is coming. The harvest is coming. I said the harvest is coming. I have a friend by the name of Smokey Robinson, and some people say that I look like him a little bit. And Smokey said to me, he said, I saw Oprah interviewing you the first time she interviewed you. He said, and I said to my wife, and this is in my Smokey Robinson voice. He said, I said to my wife, he says, oh my gosh, look at little brother. His life is changing forever. When Oprah began to put me on her stages and interviewing me and putting me in her documentary and putting me on a speaking tour and letting me do the Oprah cruise and letting me be in her magazine and highlighting me in her book and highlighting me in her documentary, I'm trying to tell you something changed. That's a long way from being a dishwasher and having Mickey complaining that I was hustling and I was acting like I owned the place. Every day I'm hustling. Uncommon thoughts, uncommon plans, uncommon risks, uncommon discipline. Tim Storey, are you still that way? Yes. And it's not because I'm running from something. Maybe as a kid, I was running from poverty or running from living a life that was okay or almost. Maybe as a kid, maybe as a kid, I was running from something, but now I'm going towards something. I believe that we've all been spoken over. I believe that you're supposed to live an utmost life. I believe that your life is supposed to be different, better, and more magical. So why not be uncommon? I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be standard, and I don't want to be regular. I want uncommon thoughts, uncommon plans, uncommon risks, uncommon discipline, and people like you that do well. You have uncommon resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover. We've been in the middle of COVID-19. We had a pandemic, difficulties like most of us have never seen in our lives. But in the midst of that, some of you may be having relationship problems. In the midst of that, you may be having health problems. In the midst of that, you may be having staff problems. But resilient people find a way to rise. Resilient people find a way to get through difficulties. You see in the back here, I have a poem by Maya Angelou. But she has another poem called Still I Rise. She says, you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Talking about your life. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I will rise. What she is saying throughout this poem is that no matter what you say against me, do against me, or even whatever I do against myself, still I will rise. If you believe in this, say yes, 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 yes in the chat, that you will rise. When I was 10 years of age, my father, he decided to go get my mother food. It was way before DoorDash and Domino's Pizza coming to your house. So my father got in his vehicle and he went to go pick up food for my mother, but he would never come back. Our lives were difficult enough. They're raising 5 children on a limited income. My father goes through a green light. A man runs a red light, hits my father, and he dies. I'll never forget hearing my mother cry. I'd never heard my mother cry before. She's a very tough lady, even to this day. My mother is now 90 years of age, and she is feisty. She can walk great, sees, hears. She's feisty. And I'd never heard my mother cry, and now I could hear her cry at night. And I remember thinking to myself, man, there's got to be a way to not have to hear this. And she thought she was doing it, you know, in privacy, but our house was so small, I could hear her crying. And I thought, man, I got to somehow find a way to get rid of that sound. But I remember that our lives was already in a setback. But now something hit that I call a life interruption, where just like that, my father's life was taken. And when most people have a setback or a life interruption, I have in my notes right here, they sit in a setback. Some people settle in a setback. And some people cement themselves in a setback. Every one of you that is watching me right now, I guarantee you, you have gone through some form of a setback within the last 12 months. It could be a mindset, it could be physically, emotionally, with your job, with your finances, with your child, with your children. And it's so tempting to sit in a setback and to settle in a setback. But if my family would have just sat in the setback and settled, life would have just taken us over. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. If you don't do something with life, life will do something with you. If you do not do something with life, life will do something with you. A lot of the people that I life coach are people that are well known and they were doing great in life, but then life did something with them because they did not know how to handle their setback. Don't sit, don't settle, and don't cement yourself. But like Maya Angelou says, you have to find a way to rise back up, to have uncommon resilience, the capacity to recover, the capacity to recover. Capacity to recover. In 1999, a friend of mine brought a friend of his to see me. I was on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. And the man that came in, I recognized his face instantly because he's a very good actor, and his name is Robert Downey Jr. Robert began to tell me about the setback that he was in. And he said, do me a favor, Tim, just help me to be okay. I said, that's going to be a problem for me because I don't believe in just living in the land of okay. And I'll never forget Robert smiling really big. And Robert has quoted me around the world as saying to him, as I did that day, Robert, the bigger the setback, the greater the comeback. The bigger the setback, the greater the comeback. If you love that statement, say yes, 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 yes in the chat. Just say yes in the chat. The bigger the setback, the greater the comeback. And so Robert and I began to have discussions about how to turn the setback into comeback. But I'm going to tell you, we never knew that someday that he would be Iron Man. We didn't see that coming. What's your point, Tim Storey? You can't sit, you can't settle, you can't cement yourself. When you're feeling the sting of your setback, life is preparing your comeback. You can go from almost to utmost just like that. You can go from the recovery zone to the discovery zone. Man, so powerful. You will rise again, but you have to have uncommon resilience. I was studying the palm tree one time, and I found out something about the palm tree, that a hurricane can hit, like in Florida, and the palm tree will bend, and rarely break. It'll bend, and rarely break. Where in a hurricane, if it's 150 miles an hour winds, you'll see trees just start taking off and boats will start flying. But the palm tree, it'll bend, and bounce back, and bend and bounce back. It sounds like you. Look at all the things that you've gone through, but you bend and bounce back. You hit the floor and come back for more. You hit the flow, come back for more. Think how many times you failed, but you failed forward. You got back up. You must have uncommon resilience. But there's something about the palm tree. It goes deep into the ground. But also it has elasticity that goes all the way through. And so it has the ability to bounce back. You have the ability to bounce back, just like Robert Downey Jr. decided it was a choice. I'm not going to sit, I'm not going to settle, I'm not going to cement myself in this setback. I am going to rise back up. If you're loving what I'm saying, say yes, 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 yes in the chat, and I'm going to speak to you for 8 more minutes. Come on, people. Get ready for an amazing end of May, a strong June, a stronger July, a stronger August, September, October, November, December. Do you believe this, Tim Storey? Yes, you can't shake this out of me. This is my mentality. You can get a miracle mentality in the midst of everything you face. So, Tim Storey, how do I have this uncommon resilience? How do I get this comeback in my life? How do I go from, uncommon thoughts, uncommon plans, uncommon risks, uncommon discipline to uncommon resilience? How do I have a comeback if I've had a setback? All right, here we go. I'm ready to start cooking in the kitchen. Number 1, I got 7 more minutes. You got to become awake. You got to become awake. Wake up. I know it's easier to act like I'd rather just pull the covers over my head. You got to wake up. Number 2, you got to take inventory, but you got to be honest about your inventory. Where's my mindset? Again, that's why I wrote this book, The Miracle Mentality, that's become a bestseller. Why? Because people realize in the midst of this pandemic, it messed with our mindset. So number one, you become awake. Number two, you take inventory. What's my mindset like? What's my spirit like? What's my family like? What's my job like? What's my finances like? You become awake. Secondly, you take inventory. Number three, to have a comeback, you have to have the right partners. Ooh, so good. You have to have the right partners. You have to have people in your life who have a miracle mentality. People who believe what we're talking about today, that they have this uncommon way of thinking, plans, risks, discipline. Are you connected to uncommon thinking people? You need the right partners in your life. And I'm going to tell you something. That is a secret to my own life. That my sixth grade teacher, he said to me after my father passed, he said, "Timmy, can you wait after school? I'd like to talk to you." And I remember all the other students went, "Ooh," like he's probably in trouble. And I remember I didn't know what he was going to say to me. I went up to his desk and he pulled out a briefcase and he put it on his desk. He says, "Timmy Storey, because I think you are," and I didn't know what he was going to say next. "A good basketball player," because he had seen me play basketball. "A good dancer," because I won the dance contest. He says, "Because I think you are," and then he said, "brilliant. I want to see if you want to read one of my books from my personal library." And I chose a book about the life of Michelangelo. Wow, wow, wow. Written by Irving Stone. You got to hear this. And as I read this book about Michelangelo, man, my mind began to soar because I saw that even Michelangelo went through difficulties and he had challenging times and went through a lot of adversity, but he continued to find ways to soar. But I also remembered the words of the sixth grade teacher, "Timmy Storey, I think you are brilliant." So my sixth grade teacher became one of my uncommon partners. Wow. And he would call my house when I went to the seventh grade to make sure I was still doing my homework. And in the eighth grade, he would call my house to make sure I was still doing my homework. If you think this is great, say yes, 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 yes in the chat. I got 4 more minutes. So to have a comeback, you have to become awake. Secondly, you have to take inventory. Thirdly, you need the right partners. Number 4, you need the right principles. The right principles. That's why I'm so excited about what you guys are doing as this amazing group. And once again, Glenn Sanford, thank you for inviting me. Because we're learning about the right principles. You have to have the right principles in your life. You got to feed your faith and starve your doubt. You got to have the right principles, the right core values inside your spirit. You have to have the right principles, number 4. And then number 5, you need the right plan. Wow, wow, wow. Tell you again, Robert Downey never thought he was going to be Iron Man. Don't forget, he was just saying, "Just help me to be okay." I'm telling you again, you better get the right plan. Your life is about to get so good, it's going to be weird. You're going to think, how is this happening for me? I remember the first time I spoke to 85,000 people. I was in my late 20s. 85,000 people at one time in my late 20s. I thought, oh my gosh, what has happened to my life? I remember one time speaking, and I won't even name the star, and I saw this famous person come in and sit in the front row, and I thought, what is happening to my life? My life had become uncommon. My life had become different, better, and more magical. You have to become awake, take inventory, right partners, right principles, right plan. 2 more minutes. And number 6, you have to learn to be persistent. Persistent. You got to keep showing up, people. You got to show up even when it looks like it's not working. Remember, you got to plow, plow, plow. You got to plant, plant, plant. You got to water, water, water. Even when you get disappointed, even when things don't work, you've got to keep being persistent. If you believe this, say yes, 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 yes in the chats. And I like it. You guys respond. I can't wait to talk to you guys in person. Look at all these yes, 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 yes. You got to be persistent. Why? Because as they say, persistence breaks resistance. So number 1, you become awake. Number 2, you take inventory. Number 3, you got to partner with the right people. Number 4, you got to have the right principles. Number 5, the right plan. Number 6, you got to become persistent. Number 7, watch this. You have to stay on your path. Stay on your path. Remember Dorothy? She needed to get back to Kansas. And they said, follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Stay on your path. I like what Stephen Covey says. Everybody's urgent is not necessarily yours. You know how many ways I'm pulled? People are pulling me all these different ways. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you run for this? Why don't you become this? No, no, no. I got to stay on my yellow brick road. Walt Disney walked into an amusement park in the 30s as I close. And he said, someday I'm going to build my own amusement park. But mine's going to be different, better, and more magical. What a privilege to talk to you today. I'm so excited that you're living a magical life.
Okay, let's go.
I just needed to soak this in. This was so amazing. You know what? We really saved the best for last, and this was truly life-changing. So, wow. You know, during this time, just listening to Tim Storey speak, just had to buy all 3 books, one on Audible so I could listen to his story, you know. And I really believe from what he said, we are with an uncommon company. And please, you know, with our uncommon family, join us at the One EXP group out in the beachside. And let's be uncommon and be resilient. So everyone, thank you again for being here. And hopefully, you know what, we will see Tim again. And wow, this was really powerful stuff. So look forward to seeing everyone on the beach. Thank you so much.